Hello, this is our next installment of the technical update and corrections session. It is a working session for me anyways. I wanted to summarize in one place all the version numbers of all the utilities and everything that I've been working on in these sessions, and everything that you see here will be down below in the comments under the video. To start off with system settings, this is Debian 12. You've got the kernel version number here. My system's processor, it's got 8 CPU cores, 2 times 4. It's an i7 based processor, and 32 gig of memory. Of the 1.5 terabytes that I have, 1 terabyte is solid state drives, nothing spinning, and the last 500 plus gigabytes is a USB stick, basically. So that is that, and moving along to the apps we're using. This command line here that I'm highlighting is the command line that produced this webcam image. This is the MPV utility, and the only thing you'd ever have to change here is the video rotate flag, which, depending on the time of day and the phase of the moon, I might be getting it upside down or on the side, so just basically I rerun it. It doesn't happen very frequently, but enough to be noticeable. So sometimes I'll run it with video rotate equals 90 or 180. And no, I'm not going to chase that down. I don't have the time for that. Simple screen recorder. It's version 0.4.4, and these are the libraries and tools that it was linked with. Kazam version 1.4.5, Kdenlive version 22.12.3. And with that said, I'm going to get rid of this and get into Kdenlive. This is the one. Yes. This is what I was looking for, and I believe, yes, perfect. This is not the finished video that I've already published, but on the way, as I'm working on it, I create backups, and this is one of them. It's a couple of steps before it was actually published, but for the purpose of demonstrating, this is more than good enough. So Kdenlive is not really doing anything, and this is what the 8 CPU cores look like in the regular normal runtime of the system. In this case, I've got a video open here. I've got a couple of Firefox windows, not really doing anything either. I've got some terminals open. I've got gedit, and then I've got the webcam right there. And this is what the system looks like ordinarily. Nothing rarely goes above 20%. I believe that at this point in time it's showing 20% simply because Kdenlive is, although it's quiescent, it is open and it's doing work constantly. So this is actually showing a slightly busier system than normal. What I'm going to do with Kdenlive right now is I'm going to start viewing. So let me move this to the side, and I'm going to start viewing the video in this window here. So here what you see at the bottom left are the various tracks and the various effects that have been applied to each track. This, for example, is a title track, and little snippets of videos that fade in and fade out of each other and so on. So I'm going to get it to work and go back to the system monitor so we can see what that looks like. Alright, so he's starting, and I'm going to mute him so I don't have to. There we go. He's muted now. I don't think there's any other noises coming in. And let's go back to the system monitor, which is right here. And you can see already, this is the system with Kdenlive and a bunch of other apps doing pretty much nothing. And this is what how busy the system gets when you're simply viewing the. Yes, he is running, as you can see. So it's getting busy, but in a healthy way. There's nothing wrong that's going to go here. My concern is always that when most of the threads are up here in the last 10 percentile, that there may not be enough opportunity for the CPUs that have to do simple maintenance of Linux, just Linux running and doing I/O and running threads and so on, and that may have caused the system to crash a couple of times. I had to reboot it because it was acting weird, because there was so much, all the threads were bunched up here in the last above 80%. But this kind of operation that you're seeing here is just the system being very busy and doing its job. Nothing wrong with that. And this is what it's doing over here. There is speech, that's me talking there, but I've got it muted so I don't have to scream at you from this side over here. So that's what that looks like. I'm going to pause. Where is it? There it is. I'm going to pause this and bring back the wrong one. Okay. There we go. And you can see how here, this is paused, it's not doing anything, and it went down from this activity to this activity. And if Kdenlive wasn't running at all, this would be another 20, 30, 40% less busy than it is right now. And that's just me when I've got nothing else to do. I just sit there and look at the system monitor. Am I kidding? We'll leave that for another time. All right. Now what I'm going to do is the thing that may drive this system crazy, and that is do an actual render of the whole video into a .mp4 file. That is the place where the system is not happy when you give it too much to do, and it becomes very undefined. I mean, there are 8 CPUs screaming. I mean, they're just running so fast, very close to 100% most of the time, well, much of the time. And when that's over, if I don't stop it, and sometimes even if I do, because I can see it running, I can see how busy it is, strange things are happening. There are apps like the file manager that I don't want to start running for some reason. And that's something that never happens on Linux. I mean, it'll give you an error message and exit, but it never just goes away, never comes back. Unless there's something that's not quite right with Linux. And I've had a couple of system crashes, and I realized, okay, I have been able to correlate what I see here and those crashes. And so there is one adjustment that I can do that will affect that. And that's what I'm going to show you now. So we're fairly quiescent. This is paused. There's nothing actually, not much computing going on at all. When I get into the render menu, and I always click the more options, which opens the right hand side of this. The left side is pretty much there. There are other options, and by all means look at them. But the ones that the one that matters for this instance is what type of container. It's an MP4 encoded with H.264, blah blah blah. Over on this side, yes, we want video, yes, we want audio, and do we want custom quality? Sure, let's rev it up a little bit. That actually produces more activities for the CPUs. If I give it more than 2 threads to do the encoding, we get into a situation that I was telling you about, that all the threads are up here, and you'll see it in a moment. It'll get close. It's kind of hard to determine at what point are you assured that the system is going to crash. It's a crazy situation. Who wants to look at that? All right. So we are in the. Why did I move that out? I don't know. Over here, if you enable parallel processing, I am certain that this thing crashes for the developers as well if they don't have enough CPU power. I tried it with 4 threads, and the CPUs were going crazy. The CPU cores. So there are threads that are constantly busy. And I basically realized, okay, I can turn that off. Linux is multi-threaded, so it's always going to run multiple threads. But my perception is that these threads and the ones that have to do with encoding are threads that are dedicated for this one particular job, and it basically takes away from the pool of CPU cores that Linux can use for its own purposes and for running other processes. So with all this, this is sheer speculation. What I can assure you is that on my system, if I run the rendering with 2 threads doing the encoding, the CPU cores are busy enough. They're up here most of the time. And every once in a while you see 1 or 2 threads reaching 100%, and that works just fine. It's when all of them are right here that things start going wrong. So with that said, let me start the render. And here we are, render to a file. I don't know if you can see that. but it's the bottom left button at the bottom of this dialog box. Alright, render to file, and we are going to, I'm actually going to put it all the way up on top here, because I'm going to see what's going on up here. Alright, render to a file, here we go. Warning, output file, yes, overwrite, thank you. Alright, so this is what he's doing right now. He's figuring out what and how he's going to do it, and here's the system monitor. And we started around this point here. That's when I clicked the render button to write to the file, and here's what it looks like. All 8 threads are participating in the system is running, and so and the programs are multi-threaded mostly. Definitely Kdenlive is. So at this point, look at what he's telling you. Every frame gets written 1 frame at a time into the MP4 file, and is basically saying he's processing into the file around 21 frames per second. I've seen it go as high as 60 and as low as 5 or 6 frames per second. And this is the time estimate where this is going to be done. Done as in finished. And no, I'm not gonna make you wait here for the next 30 minutes. Actually, realistically, this will be more like 40 minutes than 30. That's the track record that Kdenlive has with me in terms of looking at things in the beginning and projecting, oh, this is going to take me 30 minutes, and most of the time it's about, actually runs 10-20% slower, which is fine as long as you know what to expect. And that's what it looks like. So I'm going to abort the render right now because this is what I wanted you to see. This stuff. This is a nice healthy system doing magical work. But there aren't that many threads at the same time that are hitting 100%, which is, my perception is, this is what it's supposed to be. When it gets worse, system crash. And alright, goodbye system monitor. Oh, goodbye system monitor. Okay. I believe, did I kill it? Yeah, I think I stop render. Okay, yes, no, I just exited out of the dialog box. Let's make sure one more time that I have. We'll see by the system activity what's going on. Yeah, he's no longer rendering. We're not seeing all the big mountains and peaks and valleys here. They're all down where they need to, where I need them to be. Okay. So here are the configuration values that I've seen that affect that dangerous situation where too many threads are too close to 100%, and my theory is, well, at that point in time the system can't really run very well. There are urgent events that it needs to take care of, and it doesn't have the CPU cores available to do them, and that's when the system can crash. Sheer supposition on my part, but honestly, I've been long enough to see. I've seen this stuff before, not with Kdenlive, and not recently. Anyways, here's one thing to look for, and when you go into, there are 2 types of settings that I'm normally exposed to when I'm working with Kdenlive. The first thing I do is I go to the Kdenlive configuration, which is where a somewhat sane, reasonable default configuration lives. And this is what it looks like, and here is where things can get messy. When Kdenlive crashes, sometimes the configuration settings are set to the default. Now, as the custom project folder, that's where I keep all my .kdenlive files, and it's in a reasonable place for me, and that's that. If Kdenlive crashes, I always check this, because when I don't and it reset all the defaults, all of a sudden the .kdenlive file, even for an existing project, he starts looking for it at the default location, which is somewhere else. And that creates problems at runtime. So particularly if Kdenlive crashes, I simply go to the Kdenlive default configuration, and I make sure that that is still what I set it up to be. That's one thing that might save you a lot of time. The rest of it, nothing bad will happen if you change the default number of tracks for audio and video, or the how many frames per second and what format you want it to be in. That's all stuff that you can just reset later if you find out that it's wrong. So we're gonna cancel out of this, and we'll go to the next place, which is our good old friend. Shall we do the project settings? Yes, why not? Under project, there is project settings, which its initial state when you just start Kdenlive and there's nothing in the project bin, or no clips, no nothing, it'll start out with the defaults indicated by the settings that we saw for Kdenlive, the default settings. Project default here isn't set quite right, and I didn't check it before, so that's something for me to look later on, nothing that's relevant to what we're doing right now. Right. This particular project needs both audio and video, so I'm going to correct that. And over here, I'm not going to touch this now, it's not relevant to what we're doing. So press OK here, and now let's go back to the render. Rendering aborted, that's great. We are in the job queue, so this needs to be removed. Remove job, there we go. Goodbye. So now we're going to the render project menu, and we've got the more options clicked. And here's what makes a difference. I'm using an MP4 container, producing both audio and video. I had set it for custom quality. One way to bring the render work down, by default it's around 75%. It helps a little. What this costs mostly is just time. instead of rendering in 30 minutes, it might render in 40 minutes. Big deal. This number of threads can make a difference. On this machine, I've got 8 CPU cores. We've got I don't know how they work the way around the semantics of the whole thing, but there's a gigantic Intel i7 CPU in the system. Gigantic. I do this with I don't know, like this. It's got 4 CPUs in them, each one of them having 2 cores. What that translates to the software guy is 8 threads. That's it. 8 CPUs, 8 threads. But I think we need to be careful with the semantics here, because it can be confusing. So, out of 8 threads, 8 possible threads at a time that can be used by a program, I'm giving the encoder 2 threads to work on. As you increase this number of threads that the encoder is given, you'll see the CPU on the system monitor get busier and busier, and it doesn't make much sense to start off from what my system does, because the power of the CPU, the amount of memory, even the type of hard disk that you have, makes all the difference in the world, and the numbers can vary wildly. If you start Kdenlive with a fresh new project and you're going to do something that's a little more than just take an MP4 and add some audio to it, start from the default and look at the system monitor from the main menu on Linux and see if it looks too busy. And if it looks too busy, or if it crashes, bring this number down. I brought it down from 4 to 2. The killer, the one that really is going to get you, is this one. I never use it anymore because those CPUs are stuck up on very close to the 100% mark on the system monitor, and it doesn't run well. It crashes itself, it crashes the system a few times, and sometimes to the point where what I mentioned before takes place, which is you get your default values in the Kdenlive configuration, and if a project started with a default directory that's different than the Kdenlive regular default directory, it's messed up, and it acts very strangely. You will notice that there's something wrong, and sometimes it takes me a while to realize, oh, he had to reset the configuration. I think there's might be a better way for them to look at, because it's not very, when an app corrupts its own data, that's when it should become a high priority bug. But I think they're in I feel a lot of empathy with the people who are actually doing the development work, because they're doing a fantastic job. And this is probably how they're going to get this to work. They give themselves an opportunity for the software to cause problems, and they can look at it more closely, see how to fix it, and so on. Anyways, enough excuses for Kdenlives. There are some problems, and this is how I've solved those problems. I simply back off from making it use as many CPUs as it possibly can while it's running, and it works just fine. It really does. And with that, I think we are done with this session. Hope I haven't forgotten anything. And thank you for visiting, and bye-bye. Now I have to remember how
And
to
here
turn
we
off.
are again.
For the purpose of ending this video, I wanted to add some recommendations and some of my conclusions. This is the technical update and corrections session for August 17th, 2025. And I'm well aware that it's already August 18th. But never mind that. The name shall remain, or however many days it takes me to upload this video to YouTube. A couple of things. One, I'd like people to remember that the purpose of what I'm doing, the videos that I'm showing on YouTube, is to deal with real live issues that arise when you're performing a task, and how to succeed, and also how to avoid some failures that I know about. And so one might think, watching other videos, for example, about Kdenlive, that they sure do a good job of selling the product, and I don't mean that in a bad way. The thrust of what they're showing is how easy it is. And being old and tired, my job is to demonstrate how easy it is to get stuck, and maybe my videos help in getting people unstuck without being made to feel like they don't know what they're doing. I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm perfectly happy with myself, trust me. Maybe too much, some people would say. Moving right along. Recommendations. Kdenlive is a fine video editing tool. It's brought a lot of joy for me that I can produce videos for YouTube that are not horrible to look at and listen to. If you're a movie producer, whether you live in Hollywood or Vancouver, or Toronto for that matter, or Memphis. Okay. No, this is not the tool that you're going to produce a full feature film. It's not powerful enough. It's not fully fleshed enough yet. It takes it a long time to do things that I understand from reading the industry postings on the internet that are absolutely necessary in order to do a movie production or a serious interview that has long clips from other sources that you have to integrate. It'll do the job if you're, but I'm getting a bit older, and I hope to be around when that render operation actually finishes. I'm not sure I'm joking. So you gotta, there are limitations, but this is all free, relatively speaking. Free is not always free in these days, but to produce a 10-20 minute video for YouTube, it is certainly more than enough. And it's also fun to use it. It has so many interesting capabilities, and I haven't even penetrated, I swear, 5% even of the capabilities of Kdenlive. So please don't take my videos as a downer. It's not meant to make you feel bad. It's meant to help you solve problems. Moving right along, what I would strongly recommend to people who are not as crazy as I am is use the defaults in Kdenlive. Don't change the paths. Don't change a lot of the functionality that you can specify in the Kdenlive settings, or in the project settings for that matter. unless they if those changes have to persist over uh, separate invocations of Kdenlive, make sure that some crash or some mishap didn't overwrite your settings with the default settings. If it did, and all you did was use the defaults, there's nothing to worry about, nothing to change. Um, and that's really the only recommendation I have. Don't play with the number of threads and doing multi-threading on the rendering operation needlessly, because so far my system has not been permanently harmed, but I've certainly had to reboot the system enough times. So kind of take it slow, let the system show you what your own computer system and the memory you have and all of that, let your system show you what its limitations are. And I recommend pay attention to that, because you can waste a lot of time undoing harm that was done in some random run of Kdenlive rendering. And that's pretty much it. I enjoyed making this video. I hope you come back. And as soon as I figure out yet one more time how to stop Kazam from recording, I will say goodbye. Well, actually, I'm saying goodbye now. I'll let the last 5 seconds fade away into some music. Thank you. Have a great day. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye. Step 1, click on the icon. Step 2, go here. Bye-bye.